6:30. May we have a roll call, please? Let's see.
Randy Daigle,
Here.
Rose Bouchard, Gina Sakala,
Here.
Chris Clare, David Costa,
Here.
Chris Cycli,
I'm sorry, he's there. He's there.
see. Amy Dennis,
Here.
Caitlin Dunn,
Here.
Scott Copen,
Here.
Bruce Kellogg,
Here.
Walter Cruzell,
Here.
Kevin Margolfo. I see him. Michael Monfort,
Here.
Joe Muller,
Here.
Jeff Oken, Amar Shamas,
He's here.
Greg Stritch,
Here.
and Stacy Thurston. Thank you.
All right. Again, thank you everybody for joining and taking the time. I know this is a little different, but we seem to be able to get through this. So this is our third virtual meeting, so we will move on. Did everybody get a chance to review the regular meeting minutes dated May 21st, 2020? And if so, were there any comments or questions?
I have a correction to the meeting minutes under the Budget Subcommittee report, last paragraph. It refers to an SCG code review. It should be CSG. There's a spelling typo right here.
Thank you. Are there any others?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes of May 21st, 2020 with comments previously mentioned.
Are there any other comments or corrections? We have a second. May I have a show of hands? All in favor? Anybody against? Anybody abstain? Thank you. That was unanimous. We don't have any guests per se this evening, so we will move right on to the architect's report. Mr. Kellogg.
Front and center. So, excuse me. I reported last time that from a design perspective, the two pieces that are left, the two phases that are left are technology equipment and furnishings, furniture and equipment, FF&E. We're still in the process of scheduling meetings on technology equipment with the district and going through that process. And again, the intent there is that we will complete that process, including our necessary documentation to get into the state of Connecticut OSCG in August at some point so that technology can be approved. So that would be that's the last piece. The piece prior to that is FF&E. And right now, we've actually talked about expediting the FF&E schedule. We will be presenting a FF&E package to this committee on, I think, your meeting of July 2nd for your review and approval to go. And that's, again, that presentation will have the furniture, the budgets, and we'll need the building committee approval to go to the state for their state review and approval. Same drill that we did with the base building, except obviously FF&E is a smaller package. It's not the entire building. I promise I won't come in with those big volumes of specs and multiple sets of plans. It'll be a little more streamlined. Then our intent is to meet with the Board of Ed either the 7th of July or the 14th of July, present to them, get their approval, and then be into the state. Right now we have a tentative date set with the state for Thursday, July 9th, for their review for this FF&E. So that process that's only about 7 weeks away. So pretty quick process here to button it up. On the FF&E, we've had Emily and Nikki of our office has had meetings with Andrew and Chris and the appropriate people, and my understanding is essentially have all the answers we need to complete that package. There's always one or two outliers that adjustments that come in, but I think we're in good position there. Any questions about tech equipment or FF&E? Good, hearing none. The other piece is now that we're in construction, you'll hear Chris and Amar and Randy talk about building construction. The design team shifts from the lead role to a supportive role. Jill, who's on this call, and you see her there, is one of our project architects who worked on the project. She'll be our main contact during construction administration. And we have started, I think everybody knows, we submitted sets of documents to building department, fire department for permitting. We are having some ongoing review sessions with them to make sure they understand the documents and they have a level of comfort for issuing a permit. Some of the comments given our new norm and COVID-19, obviously they overlap. These individuals are fairly busy, as you can expect, and so we're just having to weed our way through that. And I'd rather have a lot of overlapping comments than different ones. So I think Jill, I don't know, Jill, if there's anything else you want to report, but I know there was a meeting that occurred yesterday, and I think it's pretty positive. Again, a lot of conversation, and I think we're nearing the finish line where permits will be issued. You're on mute, Jill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I think we're on the right track with that, and I would anticipate that coming up soon with the permit.
So that's, from a construction standpoint, obviously, the permits required. I don't think there's anything that has held up the process. The local officials have been good to work with. They knew this was coming. We'd had conversation many, many months ago about this project, and actually done some initial reviews with them relative to the project approach, in particular the phasing, where we were trying to ensure students would be safe in temporary classroom space. So really now it's just kind of into some of the detail and some of the pieces that they want to make sure that get covered during construction, so that, again, safety and security first and foremost for the students and the staff are maintained.
Bruce, do you or Jill want to elaborate a little bit on the meeting that you guys had with Gilbane and the local fire department and building and codes at the school? Just touch upon a couple of things that you guys went over, like swing space and egress, just to keep the public informed that, again, as you just mentioned, safety is the number one concern, but just kind of elaborate, because it was an extensive meeting that you guys attended.
I'll let Jill take the lead on that, and then I'll backstop it.
Yeah, so basically the focus of the meeting, this past meeting, was focused on that swing space, which is the temporary classrooms that we will have. There was a big discussion about how we would handle the emergency lighting for those classrooms. And it was decided upon that the existing generator at the school would provide that emergency lighting. We also looked at a couple of items in terms of making sure that doors weren't blocking paths of egress in the hallways. We switched a couple of those doors to 180-degree swing, and a couple of other small things like that, but it was very productive.
So again, those conversations, as you can see by Jill's commentary, was really to educate the local officials on the steps and level of protection that's being provided, the thought process of the temporary classrooms, for example, in swing space, how they were intended to function to obviously provide Enfield Public Schools with the opportunity to continue the quality education in those spaces, but at the same time ensuring that all of us have done everything realistically possible to ensure that the spaces are safe and secure. So I think they're all positive meetings. It's, this is, as I think all of us know, this is a unique building in its design and its existing wings, and perhaps the normal review thoughts that you have on a building of this are a little different because of that, because everybody transitions back to the center of the school, and that becomes really the main focal point. So getting students from point A to point B while maintaining a separation of the construction pieces is paramount, and there's a lot of building systems that go into this. I always equate it to, for those of you that are in the medical profession, it's like a human body and all the arteries, all the technology systems, the heating, the cooling, the electrical systems, all those arteries, you got to make sure they're all working. You don't want any of them to go numb, so to speak. So again, that's the conversation. It's been positive. I think in the next few weeks, we'll be at a point where the local officials will have a lot of their questions and concerns answered, and it'll just be a matter of an ongoing conversation during construction, because each of these wings, does create a little different scenario, even though I think we've all tried to simplify it. The classroom wings are pretty simple, but their locations require different interfaces with the rest of the building. So all good stuff to report, just, conversations, and it takes a little time to sort it out. You're on mute, Randy.
There we go. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for Bruce or Jill?
I do.
Go ahead.
I know that I mentioned it maybe a couple of months ago, but did you guys ever look back into reworking the athletic fields to make sure you have fences and making sure the fields are the appropriate size for at least the baseball, soccer, softball? Those are the big, field hockey. Those are the big sports in middle school.
Yes, we went back to the our landscape site civil engineer. I think that in Gina, your question was specific, if I recall. There was no dimensions to where those fences were, and that raised some further questions. I believe they put dimensions on the drawings. I don't know. I don't have a drawing in front of me, so I can't say for sure. But yes, we did go back and look at those. And what I can do is get a landscaping drawing. I don't know. I think they were split among several drawings because of the size of the fields, but I go back in and have our engineer to note on a drawing the size of those fields and try to maybe
if we
put
could
it to
get
one drawing for the committee to have, so you can point a reference for.
If you can send them to me, I will forward them to Gina, and then she could forward them to her connections that have to do with the fields and stuff.
Yeah, we just
All right, we'll get some.
We want to make sure, like, you just want to make sure the backstop's the right size, that there is
Right.
a fence in the backstop, that the center field is the right size, from home to mid center, dead center, and in the foul pole. So if we could, it would probably take me 3 days to look through all those drawings. So if you could just get them to me, that'd be great.
So what we'll do is we'll have an overview drawing which tries to put sizes on each of those fields, so you have an easy point of reference, and then we can point out which other drawings the details for what you're asking for occur. If it's only on one or two other drawings, then we can include that in the set. But I don't want to.
Right.
We'll create a list of where you can find that.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions anybody may have for the architect? Yes, Walter.
Bruce, July 7th, I'll make sure we have a special meeting if we need to take care of that for you. So
I appreciate that, Walter. We'll be
Because we
ready. If July 7th doesn't work, July 14th, your regular
Well-
scheduled meeting will certainly still work for us. So
we don't have any meetings scheduled in July until no, actually we do have a first meeting in July. But anyway, if we have to have a special, we'll arrange it. So
okay,
sooner the
thank you.
better. Let's just get it done. The sooner the better. So
Okay, the 7th
All right.
it is.
yeah, 7th it is. I'll make sure I've noted it now, and I'll send it to the proper authorities.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Anybody else have any questions for the architects? All right, Bruce and Jill, thank you so much. We'd like to move on to the CMR report with Gilbane.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Marcus Brennan couldn't join us this evening. Hopefully the next meeting he'll be here, but I'm covering for him. So just to give you guys a brief update of where we are, subsequent to the GMP sign-off that took place on the 20th, Gilbane quickly mobilized into awarding contracts to all the subcontractors and the subtrades that were involved. About 30 contracts went out. And we're moving very rapidly through those awards because we understand the urgency and the schedule criticality to the project as it relates to releasing materials, releasing submittals. And that's the process that working with JCJ and their design team as it relates to reviewing of those submittals, which is going to take place probably at least in the next 3+ months that are upcoming. Obviously, we'll be focusing on critical submittals, site, mechanical, electrical, and obviously steel and foundations, which is key in order to keep the project on pace and on schedule. Again, as Bruce and Jill touched on a little bit as it relates to the permit, that's an ongoing process. We continue to work together in making sure those permits are in place. We do have the okay to go ahead, and obviously our trailer mobilized. So the trailer permit has been granted, if you will. They've been okayed with that one. They're also okay with our demo permit. And obviously we're moving to the next space as far as the swing space and the balance of the permit. So as Bruce indicated, just to echo his, the building department and fire have been phenomenal to work with, especially on the permitting process. They are just on the same side as we are in order to expedite and push through to making sure that the construction process does not stall or slow down. As it relates to on-site activities, as I indicated earlier, our trailer is on-site, and just to give you kind of blow by blow as it relates to each of our subcontractors, Milton Beebe is our site contractor. They have mobilized last Monday, and they've started development of obviously our laydown area. They're installing the temporary utilities, looking to install erosion controls, which is critical part of the project as it relates to our DEP permit. Site fencing, they'll be going on that one. Removal of topsoil, they've started doing that, and also starting excavation for underground and foundation. So what I'm going to give you is basically what's happening now and kind of the next 4 weeks as you see activities, if you ever visit the site and take a look. As it relates to Ferguson, which is one of our key subcontractors, because they'll be providing the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing package for the job, about 35% of the project. They'll be mobilizing on site this coming Monday, and obviously their primary role will be involved into making safe all the electrical, mechanical, and plumbing in order to support the demo activities. They want to make sure that everything is safe before we start taking things down. Also, they're going to work on fire alarm coordination. They're also looking to work on underground coordination. So our BIM process, which is Building Information Modeling, which is VDC as well, that process is going to start very rapidly, and it's going to probably go on for at least the next 4 to 5 months, where we're going to have to all the actual building model that we took over from JCJ, all of their informational system, the structural system, the mechanical plumbing, and all of the architectural model. And now we invite our subcontractors to participate and make sure they coordinate that work and makes the process very efficient as it relates to installation. So this is a process that's going to be ongoing at least for the next 4 to 5 months. Obviously, the design team is going to be involved. and our subcontractors will be working collaboratively into making sure that all the items are coordinated. Ductwork, as you recall, this building has a relatively tight ceiling space, so this coordination process is going to be key to making sure that things go in properly. And I'm sure we're going to have some issues, but that's the process that we go through with the design team to make sure we resolve these issues and not impact the project schedule. Again, they're working on the underground coordination, and they rapidly will move up into above ceiling areas. Another area that we're going to be focused on big time is the mechanical space, the boiler room area, as well as the new addition, which houses the mechanical switchgear area, the fire pump area. As you recall, that addition is a key, kind of the center of the nerve center of the project. So that's going to be key to making sure that is expedited. Our fire protection contractor will also be mobilized on Monday. That's Blackwater. They are going to be also involved in making safe the sprinkler system. Again, Ferguson will be focused on the mechanical, electrical, and HVAC. Blackwater is going to be involved in making safe the sprinkler system, and they'll also be involved heavily with the coordination process. Papasso, who's doing the concrete work for us, they're looking to mobilize around the 15th, and obviously their primary role will be making sure foundations start around mid to late June in order to maintain the project schedule. QSR, our steel contractor, they're in the process of procurement and procuring all the shop drawings for the steel components of the project, and obviously they'll be involved as well as coordination and with the foundations. Net Services, our network, they folks are going to be providing all the teledata and low voltage work. They'll be mobilizing next week also to coordinate data infrastructure for the phase 1 of the project construction. Lockheed Windows, critical component to the project. They'll be providing all the curtain walls and windows. They're working through submittals at this point in time, trying to procure all the windows of the curtain wall system because they do have significant long lead. Worked great with JCJ early on once they got on board and making sure that the systems are vetted out, so they are moving in the right direction. GDS is our general trade contractor. They'll be mobilizing by the end of next week to start working on the swing space area and the phasing. Particularly, as you guys recall, the swing space is a huge schedule critical piece of the project, which is the development of the temporary swing classrooms. So we want to make sure that stays on track. So GDS, our drywall contractor and framing contractor, will be mobilizing there by the end of next week. AIS, which is our demo contractor working through the town, thanks to Chris and his efforts of making sure they get on board on time. They have mobilized on site and they're starting the demo in the pool area and associated locker room areas. They've also started the demo at the B wing, and they're mobilizing into the F wing next week. As you recall, that we're going to be in multiple areas working with AIS, and they appear to have the horsepower needed in order to meet those requirements. And again, thank Chris for his efforts. They'll also be mobilizing in the boiler room after Ferguson makes, obviously, the area makes safe. So this is kind of gives you a snapshot of what's going to happen in the next few weeks, and we'll continue to update you as we move forward. But again, if you ever have a desire to walk through and stop by, our trail is on site, our staff is on site, and definitely we welcome anybody that are looking to visit or walk through the areas. Randy, that's all I have at this point in time. I'll take any questions if anybody have any.
Amar, this is Greg.
Yeah.
For the high school, we required that the people doing a walkthrough have a OSHA 10 certification. Is that going to be required for those members of the committee, liaisons, et cetera, that do not have those? Would that be required?
Not a requirement. I think what you're referring to at the time we offered is an OSHA 10 classroom. I mean, everybody want to be safe. We want to make sure the job sites remain safe, and we complete the project successfully in a safe manner. But we would definitely be willing to assist in obtaining the OSHA 10 for any individuals that don't have it. But if you're walking around the job site, as long as you're accompanying one of our superintendent or project managers, you're more than welcome. We have the proper PPE. And obviously, with the COVID-19, we want to make sure everybody maintain a safe distance and has also the additional PPE required to deal with COVID-19.
Yeah, Greg, even with that certificate, you still need to check into the trailer, sign in, and if you're going to go on site, be escorted. Nobody is allowed to walk around the site just because we're committee members or staff. Gilbane takes ownership and liability of this site, so
Right.
at no point can anybody just wander on the site.
Understood.
Does anybody have any questions for Gilbane? All right, as you can see, there's been a lot of stuff going on. We're daily, several times a day, we're all in contact with each other. They're in contact with the town officials, and Andrew was on several meetings with us during the week. He was on another meeting this week, the principal. So we're just, everybody's being kept informed as best as possible. Let's move on to the owner's rep if there's no other questions. We'll move on to CSG and Chris.
Thanks, Randy. So, yeah, as Jill and Bruce mentioned earlier, we've had a few meetings now with the building official and the fire marshal to discuss their comments related to the building permit. We are resolving them. They're not critical. A lot of them are just clarifications. Just clarifications of the intent of how the design was done, egresses, so on and so forth. So we're working through that. We have been given the go-ahead for the temporary classroom spaces. So that's going to actually, that's set to progress on Monday with the drywall contractor and a few others. So we're moving forward with that. Over the last few days, we packed up and moved out of the black, the blue, and the yellow wings. So all of the furniture and contents that are moving into the temporary spaces are now in the corridors of red, white, the hub, and part of the administration wing. So that's kind of a big feat. Monday, I believe, general clean demolition is going to start in the black and blue wing, and then that'll be followed immediately by setting up containment for the asbestos abatement by AAIS. Last week, the finance department was able to finally issue purchase order. AAIS, they're contracted directly with the town. They're going to be the demo and abatement contractor per the requirement of the Office of School Construction Grants, as well as TRC companies. They're going to be the on-site monitor for all of the abatement, whether it's related to the asbestos, the PCBs, or the soil. So they'll verify everything, do all their testing, their pre-testing, their post-verification samples. As the demo is occurring now, I can tell you in the girls' locker room, they removed there was hard ceiling in there, and they discovered some additional asbestos on the ductwork in there. Not much, about 15 or so linear feet. But those things are going to come up as the demo, as areas are exposed and new areas have not been tested for hazardous materials. They will be tested, and some areas did come back clean already. That one particular area did come back contaminated, so that'll be treated the same way. As well, Bruce touched on the FF&E meetings and updates with the state. We're targeting July 2nd for the building committee to have that wrapped up, and then we'll go to Board of Ed and then the state after that. Then we'll issue purchase orders with the finance department thereafter to place orders for all of the furniture, at least, and then we'll receive at least the furniture for phase 1 in December, January-ish, so that we'll be ready for the February turnover. What those manufacturers will do is hold the rest of that furniture until we're ready for it, and then they'll release it. They'll put it into production and then release it as we need it. So that's a little bit about furniture. And then commissioning. As you all know, last week we went through the commissioning review. Randy, you want to touch on that? Where we stand with the commissioning agent in the selection process? You're on mute.
I tell you, I'm not used to that. All right, thank you. Yeah, we did the commissioning. With the town hall being closed and everybody being separated here, I have not finalized on the signature, but the apparent winner is Innovative Engineering Services, IES. So I have the score sheet. It did go around to review all the scores to Greg, the vice chair, and then it will go for. I'll sign off on it. Greg will sign off it, and then I'll go to Chris, who's acting as the owner's rep, and then the town can go into contract negotiations. But the apparent winner is IES at this point.
Great.
So, as far as the owner's rep, does anybody have? Is there anything else you want to bring up, Chris, or is there anything anybody has any questions for, concerning the owner's rep? Again, every meeting that we have may be with Gilbane or JCJ or with both of them. Chris, CSG, is attending all of them. So they are truly representing the town of Enfield and particularly this project. A lot of back behind the scenes stuff with the state, a lot of forms, a lot of regulations that we have to follow in order to reap the full benefit of reimbursement. And that's the area of specialty that they have, and that's one of the reasons that we did choose them. So any other questions regarding the owner's rep? I'd like to go on to the budget subcommittee. Let's see, Greg,
Yeah, okay. First of all of the information that's going to be presented tonight has been reviewed by the budget subcommittee, and the committee has approved the documents for submittal to the full committee. There are no invoices for CSG at this time. JCJ has a invoice, so I'd like to make a motion that the committee approve for payment JCJ invoice number 14, dated 5/31/2020, in the amount of $145,737.87.
Second.
show of hands, all in favor? Anybody against? Anybody abstain?
Okay, that's all for JCJ. Gilbane, we have some ATPs that have shown up. ATP 1 and ATP 2 are presently on hold. That's why we're going to take and start with a motion to approve Gilbane ATP number 3. That is for a sum of $22,721, and the scope is to provide temporary 4 food service tables and 2 mobile hand washing sinks that will be used in the existing auditorium on a temporary basis.
I'll second that, but Greg or Randy, can you explain to the committee what ATP means?
Chris, why don't you explain that process and what the units that we're paying for are for?
If you want to, go ahead, Chris.
No, Mark, go ahead. You can explain the ATP.
Let me just kind of explain the ATP. It's a process that we use at the high school extensively. So ATP stands for authorization to proceed. So every time there's a change on this project, again, very similar to the high school, is that we assemble the pricing. Obviously, the change comes driven by several factors. It could be an unforeseen condition, it could be an owner change, or it could be a design change revision. So we take that information, we send it to our subcontractors, we seek pricing, we validate and review the pricing and make sure it gets vetted and there's a fair value to it. We employ multiple ways of validating pricing. We have unit pricing, we have our estimators, and obviously our engineers are very versed in validating pricing. Then those prices obviously gets reviewed with the design team and the owner's rep to make sure that everybody is on the same page as it relates to scope and dollars. Then we assemble this. Obviously, we need to seek authorization of this body, the building committee, and making sure that because that's what our contract states, that we have to seek approval from the client, and that is the building committee. So the ATP we assembled with all the backup and all the information that's required, and that gets presented to you folks. So at that point, this particular request came from through CSG as it relates to the temporary swing space for the cafeteria for some additional equipment. I'll turn it over to Chris.
Chris, on mute.
Sorry, I think we're doing it at the same time. Yeah, so what this is for, we were able to repurpose some of the contract kitchen equipment, serving equipment, for the permanent kitchen with the temporary serving line. This ATP is for equipment that is not part of the permanent design, yet we need for the temporary line, but which we also cannot use from the existing serving line because of the nature of the way the existing line is. It's built in, it's old, it's just not movable. So there's 4 hot well serving tables. Those are individual units. They're on casters. They're mobile. We need those for the first year, essentially. And then we'll figure out what to do with them after, when the permanent cafeteria and serving line is open. We'll have to figure that out later. Also included in this ATP are the 2 portable hand washing stations that were required by the health department. They have a 5-gallon, each of them has a 5-gallon fresh water and a 5-gallon wastewater bucket under the counter, so that they can be placed down by the temporary serving line in the auditorium, so that the kitchen staff have a place to wash their hands as they're serving and replenishing the food in this.
So one of the things, just to make you aware, unfortunately, the units that are in the existing cafeteria are all part of a line of equipment. These need to be standalone units for the auditorium. So, and then the new design for the kitchen are also built in. So this is something that is just going to be temporary used. Unfortunately, we will not be able to use them in the new proposed kitchen, but the town does own them, so it's something that maybe one of the other schools can use, or the annex, or it's town equipment at that point once we're done with it. So hopefully it won't go to waste, but it's something, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to reuse in this school.
Right.
All right. Anybody have any questions for CSG? No? Okay.
Randy, we have to vote on that one.
Budget. Yeah, let's continue with the budget. So we had a second. Do we have any other discussions regarding that invoice? You have a show of hands, all in favor? Anybody against? Anybody abstain? Okay, Greg?
That's all, Mr. Chairman, that we have under the budget subcommittee.
All right, we went through JCJs, we went through the ATPs, and all right, I'm just going through my list, sorry.
Yeah, nothing for CSG.
Yeah. Bill Baines, okay. Under old business, anybody feel we have anything that we need to touch upon under old business? All right, new business. one of the things I want to touch upon a new business is at some point we're going to have to do a groundbreaking ceremony, or I know we'd like to do a groundbreaking ceremony. So I'd like to have, if anybody in the committee would be willing to jump in and help with organizing that, be part of with, I know the communication subcommittee will eventually need to be publicizing this, but I didn't know if there's anybody in the committee that would like to help get this ball rolling, understanding it's something that may not happen for a couple months. It doesn't mean the project's stopping just because we didn't officially start it with shovels in the ground, but with the situation that we're in, it's something we may want to push out another month or two. But if anybody on the committee wants to email me and if they want to help either take charge or assist me in organizing it. But groundbreaking ceremony is something that's on the to-do list. Anybody else have any new business or anything regarding construction as of now? All right. Communication subcommittee. How are we doing, Monty?
Good. Nothing really new to add. We put a couple communications out there, and everything was positive. So, Amar, is there any way you could send me over what you were just speaking to? I was trying to take notes, but you had so much detail to it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind.
You look for the timeline of all the activities?
Yeah, just something like that we could put out there. I mean, we don't have to go into
Sure.
hit a couple of the hot buttons, post about
Does an email work for you?
That's
if perfect. I send you an email outline of what I just explained, absolutely. You'll have it by tomorrow. Can you shoot me over your email address? That'll be awesome.
I'll do it right now.
Thank you.
One of the things too, just went blank on communication. I know at some point we wanted to do a public presentation to make them aware of everything that we're doing and have them look at the plans, look at the elevations. And unfortunately, we weren't allowed to have crowds, and we're still not at this point. But we may do a studio presentation and just put it out there in the media, such as this or on ETV or something. But we're still trying to let the public know. We're trying to be as transparent as possible. This is their taxpayer money. We're trying to get the word out of what exactly we're doing. I know now that they're seeing some construction actually happening on the site, we're starting to get calls, I'm sure. So that's something too I'd like somebody to think about. Maybe we can put together a little video explaining, doing a presentation of where we are with the project and what the ultimate project would look like. Let's see, anything else under communication subcommittee? Great job, guys. Thank you. Greg,
Mr. Chairman, with respect to the schedule of the next meeting, we are anticipating having at least one ATP that needs to be urgently approved. It's not finalized yet, so I would like to schedule the next meeting for June 11th, which is 1 week from today, at our standard time of 6:30 p.m.
Yeah, what's happening right now is when Gilbane and when we put this project out to bid, the economy was booming and we weren't sure where the price was going to come in with all the trade bids. So we did some safety nets. We designed some products. We designed some MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. We designed it at the highest grade, but then we had some deduct alternates instead of having like Corian, we went with the Formica or on different areas, different things like that, let's just say, to have a safety net to see when if the project came in over budget, we had some areas we can save some money. Favorably, or luckily, the project came in under budget. So there's some areas we'd like to go back to the higher grade materials and higher grade MEP equipment that we designed it around. understanding that these are considered change orders, but they were originally designed in the base bid. But since the project came in under budget, now we can add them in to be what the project was designed. There are some areas as a committee I'd like to talk about at some point. Maybe doing some additional work. Some of it may be reimbursable, some of it may not be. One of the areas that I was considering talking to you all about was the front exterior of the existing media center. That building's not 20 years old, so it's non-reimbursable, but it's getting pretty close to being 20. I think it's around 18 years old. As you know, some of the brick has been spalling, some of the limestone is bleeding down, and I really don't want to have a brand new looking building and then have this thing closest to the street be the oldest part looking appearance wise. So we may consider asking the architect to see what it would cost to either repoint or at least clean up the limestone and bring it to looking as new as the rest of the building. There's some other equipment that we maybe wanted to purchase that, again, we didn't ask for, not knowing where the budget was. Some of the IT equipment, some of the furnishes and stuff like that. Furniture-wise, we're going to be getting some costs on where we are, the FF&E package, relatively soon. The architect and everybody, we've been working closely with the school. They've been talking with the end users. They've been bringing material. They've been bringing chairs. They've been bringing desks, several of them, and then they would pick the ones that they feel the most comfortable and the most that will be long-lived, the most durable ones. Right down to the fabrics. Today we were talking about fabric on some of the chairs. Instead of going with leather or plastic type, we're going with cloth because it's easier to maintain and you can't stab it with a pencil and make a puncture. So there's areas like that we're going to be talking and bringing up either ATPs or different change orders. But again, anything that we bring up at this phase is stuff that was designed that we did a deduct alternate at the bidding phase just as a safety net. So again, we were lucky enough to have the money, so we want to bring it back to the way it was designed quality wise. So that's why you have two ATPs that are out there. We're working with them right now on trying to get enough information and trying to get the scope and material. The one that's next week is a mechanical one, and it has a 6 to 8 week lead time. So I really can't wait, or the project really can't wait for 2 weeks for us to approve it or deny it. So next week, it's going to be literally half-hour, 20-minute meeting, if that. We're going to come to a meeting, have a roll call, we'll bring this information up, we'll vote on it, and then we're going to just adjourn. It's just a special meeting for this function only. So, anybody have any, now that we've talked about the schedule, that's the discussion part of it. Can somebody second the special meeting that we're going to be posting for the 11th? We have a Scott with a hand up. Any other discussion regarding next week's special meeting? If not, can I have a show of hands all in favor? Anybody against and any abstain? Thank you. Communication. Anything from the liaisons?
No, I just want to thank the whole team and the committee. This is looking really good. Thank you.
I just want to add, and I know we didn't do a moment of silence at the beginning, but our superintendent's brother passed away yesterday due to the COVID.
Oh my goodness!
So we could just have just pray for the family and wish him well, or send him a text or an email if you can. You're thinking about him. So
thank you very much. Absolutely.
And then when we do come back to live meetings, I think we should get Randy a permanent mute button.
I'm sorry, you were breaking up there.
But thank you all. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you very much. Anything else, liaisons? If not, committee members, anybody have any comments, any questions? Anybody have any good to the order? good, happy news they want to share with us. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Look at all those hands. All right. Show of hands, all in favor. Anybody against? Anybody abstained? Thank you very much, everybody, for your time. And again, everybody here, other than the architects, owners rep, and Gilbane, we all volunteer for this. So thank you for taking the time out of your lives. This is not the only thing they do. They have a real life. So I want to commend you all and thank you very much. Stay safe, everyone.